If you want to take your conversion percentage at the day 2 reported findings and really honestly take your conversion percentage throughout the practice up to a much higher, therefore much more impactful level, listen to every single minute of this video, because we're going to talk about the 3 ways to really wreck the reported findings, to really destroy your conversions. We're going to go into the negative so you can see the positive, because here's how the math is going to work on this training video. If you stop making these 3 mistakes, you absolutely boost your conversion percentage in the same amount. Meaning each of these is probably individually will probably wreck your conversion percentage by 10, 20, 30% on their own. So if you're making all 3 of these mistakes, you're probably only going to have a 40, 50, 60% day 2 conversion rate, when really every single one of us, even in a all cash practice that does actual care plans, we should have 75, 85% and north of that conversion percentages. Now let's start there with our disclaimer, if you will. Whenever you're training with someone about conversion and communication, you need to look under the hood at what kind of practice they have. If they're seeing primarily adults and they're accepting insurance, then whatever they're doing at day 1, day 2 really is not going to help you at all. If you're in an actual pediatric prenatal and family practice that is all cash and gives neurologically focused, so real optimal care plans. If it's a back pain, neck pain, Facebook ad dependent practice that's just using scripts and sales sort of things, well, then their conversion percentage can be 85%. But into what? 18 to 24 visits that insurance is going to pay for, and then that patient's going to leave, and then you're going to have to, scrape the bottom of the pile with more screenings and more Facebook ads to get more in. I don't think anybody who's really going to tune into the videos that I put out are looking for that. So we're talking really about this conversion percentage in a pediatric prenatal and family practice. But even in that space, too often we see docs making 1, 2, or all 3 of these mistakes. So I really want to talk you through this, and you'll love it. So the spark for this video in our certification program. So in our certificate course with Life University, I just was reading this morning all the feedback forms from the last 55 graduates here last weekend. And it was so cool because there was a lot of comments about the communication section in the course. And again, it's a clinical protocol, adjusting sort of case management, CE sort of cert course. So the coolest thing is that we have communication in it, and over 50% of the feedback mentioned specifically how valuable it was to have communication. And this one doc's comments really caught my eyes, and he said, look, if I actually want to put my patients on a care plan and do tonal adjustments and do this subluxation based neurologically focused chiropractic, well, then I need to actually communicate and explain the value of that to the patients or to the parents ahead of time. And that's the coolest thing ever. A lot of us know that clinically we want to put our patients on legit care plans. Clinically, we don't want to do flying 7 shotgun adjusting. We really want to focus on their nervous system, not their spine, not their pain, not their problems. But if you don't have the ability to communicate and get that to make sense for them, the patient, you don't get to do what you want to do and they need to do clinically. So we fought hard to get communication as one of the 3 modules within our cert course. We're the only one that has that. I literally had 3 different certifications before kind of doing my own thing, and not a single one of them, they taught me all the stuff, not a single one of them taught me how to actually communicate it and bring it into practice. So that's really the missing art. We should graduate with chiropractic degrees, and we should graduate with communication of chiropractic degrees, at least for what I call, I don't know, it's not a side hustle degree, but anyways, enough opening. Let's go into the 3 things. The value of communication is immense and huge. So you got to make sure you're not making these 3 mistakes and wrecking your day 2 conversions. Number 1 mistake we see too often from certain systems that are out there: having your CA do the day 1 case history and do the intake. Now, this system that's out there, having CAs do case histories for new patients, it's an efficiency play, and it massively increases the efficiency and frees up the doc, right, to be doing more adjusting, primarily if they're not doing that longer visit, 10, 15, 20 minutes it may take to do the case history for a new patient. But I will tell you this, the trade-off of the doctor, so let's go to the good. When the doctor spends that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and sometimes for me in my practice with, seizures, autism, tough, special needs cases, I might even be in there for 30 minutes. the spending of that time, and no, I'm not adjusting and doing that during that time, so magnifies the value of the conversion and the care plan and the referrals and the retention. That's all going to come from that one patient, that by spending more time than other doctors do in the day one consult, I am absolutely adding more value and growth to the practice than I would be adjusting, a couple of wellness families in that time. When you have your CA do the intake, the challenge is conversions are all based upon building trust, building a deep sense of understanding between the doctor and the patient. The doctor actively, intently listens. These are the struggles I have with my child or my health. These are the goals I have for my child's health or for my health. If that conversation, even if you train your CA to actually dive deep and do a great day one, that's a handoff. That's not the same human who then is going to come into day two and report on that information and say, here's what we can do about what you just said. It's a third-party interference of communication. And we know that third-party interference from insurance companies ruins relationships and practice growth. So if you have your CA taking day one, you've got to absolutely lower your expectations for conversion percentage, for care plans, for how much retention and referrals. You're going to battle for conversion and retention forever. So it's a time saver, but it's a conversion and retention and referral generating record. Number two, if you adjust on the first visit. Now let me get the exceptions out of the way here really quick. Even in our practice, if we've got a brand new baby who's just screaming their head off, colicky, not sleeping, not latching, they're in that very formative component of or part of life where their nervous system really needs that sleep, really needs breastfeeding, really needs to have that calm. So we're going to go right to work and adjust that kiddo. Or if it's a breech or a struggling pregnant mom, we're going to probably go right to work and adjust on that visit. But the exceptions to that rule come with a triple down on the explanations. Hey, the most important visit is still going to happen 2 days from now, where we sit down at that report of findings and we go through your scans. I've seen tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of scans. So I can go look on the iPad before I adjust your baby, before I adjust you. I will know exactly what they need. I just don't have time today to necessarily sit down knee to knee like we will at that report of findings and give you that in-depth explanation and show you those scans and go through it. But please know how important that is. But the cool thing is I can spend 5 to 10 minutes looking at those scans, get all the information I need to make a great adjustment on this first visit. Just know I won't be able to show that to you and explain that to you. And as long as parents are okay with that, and they always are, you've still been able to clear room to make the first adjustment, but you've really set up the importance of the scans and the exam and the evaluation you did. And that's the whole thing with adjusting on the first visit. If you do a ton of awesome stuff, again, we're going to talk about insight scans next, but if you do your scans, you do your x-rays, you do your exam, and then you just, without even looking at that stuff, you go and make an adjustment, and rack them and stack them, the patients are smart. They're like, well, why'd you do all that? You clearly don't need it to do this. So you literally cut the care plan down at the knees if you adjust on the first visit. So 95% of our patients are not getting adjusted on the first visit. It's only in those special kind of pregnancy and infancy sort of scenarios. Every other case, including dads and dudes who have back pain, I mean, at minimum, if they're crawling into the office, this never happens for us. We don't have a pain-based practice, but every now and again, a dad or a mom is in a lot of physical pain. We still have them hang out and maybe come back in an hour, or we come back in the afternoon. We still make sure we make time to go through our scans, go through our report and get ready for it and deliver the big picture before we start working on it bit by bit with the adjustments. And third, if you really want to, the third thing that'll wreck your report of findings is if you're not using scans. Now, if you're using x-rays, posture pictures, palpation, only in the absence of the insight scans, what you're doing is, even if your words are saying nervous system, even if your posters are saying nervous system, your visuals and most of communication, some studies say 93% of communication is visual. So you could be saying nervous system, you can be saying the big right chiropractic things, but if they're seeing the spine and they're seeing posture and physical elements while you're talking neurology, they're only hearing biomechanics, spine, physical pain. So I know this because I used to do this. I had the scans, but they were kind of this also ran. They weren't the feature of our day one, day two. The x-rays were, because that's how I was trained. And so I could never get patients to convert to full plans. I confused a lot of patients because I was saying one thing, nervous system, while they're seeing another thing, spine. And this confuses us as chiropractors. You look at the spine, you look at x-rays and a reverse cervical curve, and you know exactly how detrimental that is to neurology, to the brainstem, to the autonomic nervous system, to the vagus nerve. You can go immediately from a visual x-ray to life, to the nervous system. That's you. You're a chiropractor. You've spent your whole life understanding that link and connection. They don't have a clue. Their brain is going to use the information it has in it. And when they see a spine, or they hear somebody talking about posture, or they feel somebody, kind of poking around and palpating, they think, oh, this is to make me physically feel better. So as soon as I physically feel better, I'm out of here. So if you only do that for your day one, day two, or day one, and then you're going to sit down at day two and give a long neurologically focused care plan, they're not going to pick up what you're putting down because you're doing a neuro-focused care plan with spinal, physical, biomechanical only pictures. Well, that just doesn't land. And when you confuse, you lose, as Donald Miller, who's a great marketer and communicator, says. And so the Insight scans, as all of you who have them and are trained by Dr. Fletcher, the Insight Academy, by us through PX, how to use them, you know how truly transformational they are to everything. Clinically first, and then your communication and your conversions third. So these are the three mistakes. One, having your CA do day one, intake history for you, absolutely going to wreck your conversions and your retention and your referrals. Two, adjusting on the first visit, going to wreck them and cut down that care plan at the knees. And three, if you're using x-rays and physical and kind of traditional chiropractic stuff only, and you haven't upgraded your practice to the neuro age, because that's the sexiest, sciencey, coolest thing ever. When you can explain the science of chiropractic and the nervous system in today's market, look at Oura Ring and Apple Watch and HRV and everything else that is trying to build a neuro brand. We've always had it. You need to measure it, scan it, score it, show it, and you will have everything you want in practice and more for your conversions, your care plan, your retention, your referrals. And the coolest thing, like the doc who wrote on our CERT course, feedback form, once you master communication in these ways, making sure you don't make these three mistakes and doing the opposite of them, then you get to absolutely clinically have the practice you want. Over time here, let me sneak two communication conversion boosters. Number one, exactly what I just said. When you can communicate the science of what we do in a simple, fifth grade farm kid can understand it, so analogies and metaphors, and then show it, that's sexy, that's impressive, that's awesome. And so communicating the science of chiropractic through the scans, through analogies, and through metaphors is really a practice builder like none other. This is the neuro age. We're practicing in it. The whole market is shifting towards it, away from drugs and away from everything else, towards the nervous system. And so we're at the forefront of that. Number two, constantly, consistently weave in story, either your personal story and journey through chiropractic to match and pair with theirs, making it about them, not you. And then two, other patient stories that you've had experience with that are the same to similar to what you're onboarding that patient with, or just patient experiences, period, just in your experience in practice. They need to trust you more than they trust chiropractic because they're delivering, you're just the vehicle to deliver chiropractic. So the first thing they need to understand is it's all about me. That's why the doctor needs to do day one and listen to the patient, not just regurgitate chiropractic. Number two, they need to understand how chiropractic relates and improves and benefits them. So you got to be able to explain the science and the application of it. And number three, they've got to trust you in that way too. The product and the person together. So that's how you take your conversion to 85%, 90% through the roof, blow the doors off your practice, explode it like crazy, referrals, retention, people on full neurologically focused care plans, loving you, writing reviews about you, and telling everybody, hey, you got to come see this practice because of the way you explained how kick-ass chiropractic is to them. See you on the next one.